how do you design the perfect policy for maximum cash value short-term and long-term? Specifically when it comes to directing your money that you're paying into a whole life insurance policy toward the base premium component or toward the PUA rider. Now that can sound quite technical there. If I want to pay money into a life insurance policy, I think I'm just paying money into a life insurance policy. But then I mentioned these two areas, base premium and PUA. So what I want to hit on here is when it comes to designing a policy, we know that our money can go where? Toward the base premium or PUA component. We talk about that all the time and how to optimize the cash value of a policy. But then at times, we hear this argument that a higher base premium might, I want to emphasize that word again, might result in more cash value long term, but here's my response to that: it never has. And when I say it never has, not from an illustrative standpoint, but from an actual, historical, real cash value performance standpoint. But why do we hear that sometimes? And frankly, is it possible that a policy with a higher base premium might produce greater cash value than a policy with a small base premium? Well, the answer is yes, it is possible. It is just not that likely because we haven't seen it, and I'm not expecting to see it anytime soon. But let's get into exactly why we hear that. So, with a life insurance company, if I have a policy with a company that's paying a 6% dividend rate, like MassMutual for 2021. They have a dividend interest rate of 6%. What that consists of is as follows. I have my guaranteed floor of 4%, pre-7702 update. I've got a guaranteed floor of 4%. Then the company declared a surplus of 2%. The two together give me my total gross dividend rate of 6%. 6% is not what you're earning, by the way. Always look at the net internal rate of return. But with that said, let's go a bit further here. So if I'm going to pay money into a policy, we talk about this frequently. My money can go where? Toward the base premium. And in respect to my cash value, what shows up right off the bat? If I look at a traditional policy, nothing. For the first and second year, once I hit year 3, that money starts to come back to cash value. Now, money I direct toward the PUA component, $1,000. Does that show up in cash value? Yes, just about all of it day one. There may be a PUA fee, most companies have that, but you will see the majority of that PUA payment show up in cash value immediately, begin to compound, you can access it, and this does accelerate the cash value growth. You will find the higher the PUA allocation, the higher the guaranteed cash values on almost any and all illustrations. Guaranteed cash values. Now, why might we hear sometimes this argument that a higher base premium might, or sometimes we hear should, result in more cash value long term? Here's why. When I break a policy down, so again, if I've got a total dividend rate of 6%, the guaranteed rate of 4%, that is applied in the same manner on money I direct toward base premium and money I direct toward PUAs. The company's paying that contractual guaranteed interest rate of 4%, gross rate again, but that guarantee of 4 is identical on both areas. The surplus rate, however, here's what I want to touch on. This is different. So it is 2% on paper that the company pays toward both the base premium and PUA component. However, I'll add this, or I'll state this. The surplus portion, everything above the guarantee, with most life insurance companies, is more favorable on the base premium dollars compared to the PUA rider component. Now, the reason why this is the case is insurance companies do pay a more favorable dividend on a higher base premium because it purchases a higher base face amount. There's different tiers we can be moved up to with a life insurance policy based on the size of the policy we purchase. Now, with that said, while it may illustrate a higher dividend, does it actually happen? That is my question there. That's my number one question, because PUA dollars immediately show up my cash value, and I can use that for my business today. However, a higher base premium with a higher potential dividend payout over the long haul, A, does it result in more net cash value, but B, will it actually happen? If I'm going to invest in a business or real estate and I'm going to take a hit up front on anything because I'll get more long term, well, I want that guaranteed in a sense. I don't want to hear, it might happen if you take less up front. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to see that it actually works out. So why we hear sometimes that a higher base premium might result in more cash value is frankly because the surplus is more favorable on base premium dollars compared to PUA dollars, and many feel that we are as low as you can go in the interest rate and dividend rate environment, so eventually it has to come back up, and if and when it does, well, over time, that would reflect in a higher surplus rate, which is more favorable to base premium dollars, which should result in greater cash value. So, does that mean we can start selling higher base premium policies to beef up the revenue and the margins in our company? I'm not sold on it. Here's why. I don't think that it's always in the best interest of the consumer. So history has shown this. Higher base premium policies tend to underperform. Copy what works, meaning copy the big banks, corporations, wealthy individuals. They optimize their cash value up front. And when you study historical policies that have the strongest internal rates of return, it is often policies owned by those corporations. And the policies that those corporations obtain are often policies that you or I can obtain. They can be designed in almost an identical manner. That's the beauty of it. But back to this historical point here. Here's what I want to mention. We've seen a lot of policies. We have a lot of historical case studies on our books. We talk about the 4 major mutual companies frequently in delivering internal rates of return of over 4% if everything's set up properly, over 4% on cash value. Now, I'll add this. I have seen policies from some of the major mutual companies, from a Mass Mutual, from a Guardian, that between study periods of 15 and 20 years have barely broken even or had a net IRR of about 1%. One comes to mind. It was about a 20-year-old policy. The internal rate of return was just about 1%. It was less than that, actually. How does that happen with a whole life insurance policy with one of the major mutual companies? How does it underperform so much where during that same time period, we see policies that perform beautifully, break even year 5, actual policies, net internal rates of return over 4%. Like how? How is there such a difference? The design. That was a policy, the one that did a little under 1% over 20 years, that was designed with a much higher base premium, projected great dividends, but it didn't happen. I remember seeing that in-force illustration at year 18 and the dividend was a couple $100, but the next year projected $1,000 plus. It's like, okay, how are you going to have this jump all of a sudden, the higher base premium? You said that every year. It never happened. So that's the thing that I like to look at. You can see it if you can obtain historical policies, which again we have. If you're one of our members on our YouTube membership program, you've seen some of them. But actual performance is very, very important to look at. Now, let's kind of loop back around to this, because again, often we'll hear the argument of, hey, when you design a policy, if you drive this premium down, you're not going to have as much money long term, because when dividends come up, what should happen? Well, the dividends are more favorable on base premium dollars, which means you'll have more money long term. Firstly, how long are we talking? 30 years? I mean, dividends are low now. They're not coming up next year. We've talked to insurance companies that feel they're going to remain low for at least the next 10 years. Let's say they start to trickle up. By the time they actually reach, if it's 7, 8%, whatever rate that might be, how much longer will it take for a policy with that higher base premium to hypothetically maybe overtake that minimum premium policy? 30 years plus at a minimum. So then I'll argue that, hey, I can do much more with my money today than the extra potentially 0.25%, 0.25% an insurance company may give me over the next 30, 40, or 50 years with a higher base premium. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would I do that? And plus, I'm not looking at a life insurance policy as a long-term investment or any type of investment. No, what's going to optimize my cash value so I can use it for opportunities as they arise. Let's continue on here. So let's illustrate this point a little bit, because this can be a bit confusing. If you've really dug into our split studies before, you may have some experience here. So what we're going to take a look at here is a policy first with a 1090 split, a 3070 split, and then a 4060 split. It's going to be on a 35-year-old male, 35-year-old male, paying in $50,000 per year for a period of 30 years. I said age 35, I meant age 45. 45-year-old male. $50,000 per year for 30 years. That's a long time. And in all of these examples, we did MEC test them and actually ran them where we deliberately MEC'd them out the first time and then made sure in all scenarios we did not MEC short-term or long-term. The argument about a MEC occurring at any point in time with a low base premium is invalid, as a policy can easily be MEC tested in any environment. So here we go. Here's what I want to emphasize here. This is the part that's so interesting when we look at cash value life insurance. Here's a policy with the same company, same individual, same health rating. We put it on Excel. We pulled everything directly from the insurance company software, but we put it on Excel just not to disclose any information from the company. Just they don't like when we do that, so we didn't do it. 1090 split, meaning of that $50,000, $5,000 base premium. 3070 split, of the $50,000, that if you're this 45-year-old male, $15,000 of your payment is going toward the premium, and then a 4060, $20,000 is going toward the base premium. Here's the immediate impact. Year one, there's your difference. About $44,000 in the 1090, $35,000 in the 3070, and then $31,000 in the 4060. Big difference between all of them. And if I'm looking at $100,000 or $500,000, the ratios are all the same. You'll see a similar impact at the end of the day. So let's progress on. Year two, here is where it gets interesting. Same payment goes in. Annual dividend column, $1,300. 3070, $2,500, and 4060, $3,300. So the higher the base premium, the higher the dividend. So Mr. Client, like, look at your dividend payout here. This is the policy you want to pick, especially if dividends go up over time, you'll have more money in this one. Is that really the case though? I don't think so one bit, because we haven't seen it. And here's the thing. Would one rather take in year two a higher dividend, $3,300, compared to $1,300, so an additional $2,000 in dividends, but look at this. You've got $26,000 less in cash value. This guy is the clear winner here. It's like, okay, this one gives me more money. If I look at it year 10, dividend, 1090, about $7,500. 3070, about $8,700, and 4060, about $9,600. Okay, greater dividends with the higher the base premium. But what's my cash value look like? Look at that. 1090 with that minimum premium looks stronger all the way through. We can go all the way down on this, and you will not see an impact. And by the way, the shorter the funding period, the greater the impact with a minimum premium policy. But here we funded up until age 75. Now, what's interesting here, year 30, you see the dividend jump, and the 1090 is now faster all the way through. So why does that happen? Well, what we executed here is what is called a reduced paid up option, which chops the premium off, and whatever cash value I have in the policy purchases me a paid up life insurance policy. Premiums are no longer due, and then based off of that is what my dividend payout looks like. And that's why this guy's stronger from that point forward. The policy with more cash value after a reduced paid up option is exercised will have a higher dividend output there. Interesting, isn't it? When I really start to break it down to see which one gives me more money. So the question is, which design grants me more cash value from start to finish at minimum premium every single time? Does this mean that every single individual should go with a 1090 or minimum premium policy? Not necessarily. So we will often design that type of policy because it does optimize the cash value. The thing to look at, however, is the particular company or companies we are considering. Some companies will not allow us to go as aggressive as a 1090 split. Or maybe we can for the first 10 or 20 years, but then we can only pay 3 times the base premium PUAs after so many years. So depending on one's company preference, what we're trying to accomplish, that's where situations will differ. There's other things that pop up as well, but that's where it's good to be aware of the information. However, if we hear that, hey, a higher base premium will give you more money long term, so you should go with it, have never seen it happen. It does generate, the higher the base premium, the higher the compensation. And on that point, here's something I think of from a simplistic standpoint is if a minimum base premium maximizes a consumer's cash value and a higher base premium maximizes the agent's compensation, the actual insurance company, they're the one that takes the money in. They can only work so much with that dollar. Think about it. If I'm the insurance company and you're the agent and you design a policy where it's a 100% base premium, your compensation is maximized, the client's cash value is minimized, especially up front. I pay you a big commission as the insurance company. If you design it for a minimum commission and maximum cash value, your consumer has optimal cash value from start all the way through the finish, as we can see here. You, the agent, have a minimum commission. You get paid less. But me, the insurance company, I get that money in. I can only do one of 2 things with it. I can give it to the consumer with that cash value, or I can pay you via a commission. And there are other things I do with it as the insurance company as far as where I invest the money. Is it safe assets? I don't want to get into all that, but there's more that I do with it. However, where can it go at the end of the day? The consumer or the agent? So if I give more to you, the agent, up front and tell the client, hey, because I paid your agent more, now you, Mr. Client, you're going to have more money long term. Think about it. Like, is that really going to happen? How realistic does that sound? And the fact that we have not ever seen it based on history, well, that's a whole nother thing that we can get into more detail next time, but it really validates the point. So I do hope that this provided some transparency, some additional information. If you have any questions, reach out anytime. And as always, I hope this helps. Hey guys, Steve Parisi here. If you enjoyed the content you just saw, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for future videos. If you'd like more information or to see some custom policies for yourself, feel free to call or email our offices at the contact information below.